Supernatural is kind of it's good up until season 5.
And then it just anyway. Yeah.
Stop talking about television.
It's on film too. All right, we're back for another episode of Crosstalk. I'm Tim.
And I'm Chris.
And today we're talking about themes that defy genre, continuation. Specifically, we're talking about death as a part of life. Brought back Mike, because he has a really good movie to talk about.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Yeah, we're all super excited to talk about it, actually.
And I have one that I'm excited about as well, and I think Chris has one that is pretty good too.
Wow, way to suck the air out of the room,
Oh
man.
my god.
Wow, okay.
I'm just kidding. His is good too.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about death as a part of life, and I think this one's going to be interesting because we're actually going to talk about an assortment of themes of death. Not in the way that you would typically think that we talk about death. So,
Oh, yeah.
Thank
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
So I guess we should just get to it.
All right. Yeah.
So I'll start by asking Chris, as I always do.
Yeah.
So Chris, what movie do you want to talk about that relates to death?
Well, contrary to what Tim thinks, I think it's really good. It's a good film. I can see why a lot of people maybe don't maybe don't look back on it too fondly, or maybe don't remember a lot about it, or something like that. It did come out in the early 90s. It did have a pretty good cast. That movie's curly suit. I'm just kidding. That movie is Flatliners. I think it's why I enjoy it is because it's a very interesting look at death. So for those who don't know, it's about a bunch of research college students. They have a theory about how they can sort of be dead for a certain amount of time, experience the afterlife, come back, tell people about it. What they end up getting is a unique experience for all of them who go through this process, and they end up with they almost end up revisiting their past traumatic moments in their childhood, and they deal with it in interesting ways. For the most part, they go crazy, and they start to see things that aren't really there, and experience memories that they had hidden deep down, psychological
that affected
traumas.
them.
Yeah, that profoundly affected their life.
Yeah.
And eventually, once they get towards the end of the film, one of the characters in particular goes back to a memory where he bullied a child, and I believe that child ended up accidentally falling and end up dying. I can't
remember which character it was though.
Yeah, I don't know if it was. I want to say it was Kiefer Sutherland's character that was entrenched. So he just completely lost it. So they had to bring him back from the brink. So in that way, it's very much death is part of life. They're basically trying to experience death in the afterlife, but. They get, of course, with all film that plays a dramatic piece, they get, far more than what they bargained for, of course, right? Yeah. And it just brings back all these repressed memories.
What's interesting about that movie, too, is that they try and, without being scientific about it, they try and treat it more from, this is how scientists would deal with this situation, without actually being technically,
it's not like they break out the scientific method or anything.
No.
Yeah. It's like, we'll inject you with, this thing, and it will kill you for a little bit, and we'll, totally bring you back to life with the paddles and everything, and you're like, is that really a thing?
You could test it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my favorite part, though, was, Stephen Baldwin. He's, hanging from the rafters or something.
Good old Stephen Baldwin, man. He's always good for a crazy scene, hey?
Yeah.
So... Yeah, so it's an interesting movie. Like I said, a lot of people might not even remember. I want to say 91, but it could be a little bit off on that.
Yeah,
could be even be 90. Could even be 89, but it's definitely within that realm.
Yeah,
and like I said, Julia Roberts is in it. I'm pretty sure Oliver Platt is in it.
Yeah,
and Kiefer Sutherland's in it, and like I said, Stephen Baldwin. It's good, pretty for the time. They were all pretty huge names.
Yeah,
so.
A-list actors.
Yeah. So, cool. Interesting movie. Check it out if you got some time. But yeah, I mean,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's an interesting example.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to actually go next.
Okay. We're gonna save the best for last.
We got a good one. But I understand.
I want to talk about a movie which I saw in theaters, and it's called 7 Pounds. It is a Will Smith movie, and believe it or not, he plays against type. So usually he's the funny man or the hero guy or the cocky guy, whatever. You know Will Smith, like, his character, right? In this movie, he plays super against type. It's a very dramatic role for him. It's a very, like, heart-wrenching movie. And, okay, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, the movie came out, like, 2005 or 6 or something, like, quite a while ago.
Yeah.
The premise is that he is in an accident, and his wife, or no, fiance dies, and 6 other people die. It's a car crash. His fault. Falls asleep at the wheel. And then 2 years later, he's trying to atone for this by doing good deeds for other people. The good deeds are that he's giving away his vital organs. So he is actually going to eventually have a planned suicide where he gives away the last most important organ, which is his heart.
I was going to say his brain, but whatever.
Heart, brain. Something equivalent. And over the course of the movie, he interviews the people he wants to give his organs to because he steals his brother's ID, and his brother is like an IRS agent or something. So I guess his brother can like approve like donor forms and things like that.
Okay.
So by doing that, he's effectively like giving away his organs to the people he feels deserves them, which is kind of an interesting concept.
Yeah, it is.
Woody Harrelson is in it. Rosario Dawson, and Barry Pepper.
Nice.
And yeah, I think
Barry Pepper. Wow. Okay.
I know he plays his best friend. So it's a really underrated film because for like whatever I think Mike was saying before we started talking, it's like an Oscar baity film. And I think the reason why people didn't like it is because it's like, well, this is obviously
an Oscar.
it reeks of like atypical, like Will Smith Oscar bait.
Yeah.
But as a film, I think it's an interesting premise, and he falls in love, of course, with Rosario Dawson, and then there's like this poetic, tragic thing where he gives his heart to her at the end of the movie.
Aww.
Yeah, right? And then also, Woody Harrelson's character is blind, and he gives him his corneas. So, like, his last 2 acts are post-suicide.
Yeah.
But it kind of explores the theme of, like, well, was suicide, acceptable in culture, and why would someone do this, and all these things. So, like, as a theme of death, it's kind of atypical. I wouldn't say it's an amazing film by any means, but in the theme, I think it's a great film.
I feel like it's a really good example. I'd also like to clarify my wow with Barry Pepper. He was the star of Battlefield Earth. I just want to put that out there.
The cinematic masterpiece.
That is Battlefield Earth that people will watch.
He's an interesting actor, though.
Yeah, he is.
He's done some interesting roles.
Yeah, like Battlefield Earth.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents on that theme. So I'm going to let Mike go now because
best example ever.
Oh boy.
This is a great example of death.
So we got like we talked about like 2 movies that are like really, they can be considered deep.
Yeah.
Mine is super simple, straight to the point, and
far from deep.
But nonetheless great.
But still amazing. Like
Yes.
my god. Yeah, and my movie is John Wick 1.
Right.
So for those of you who don't know what John Wick is, for our viewers at home, it's about this retired assassin, got out of the game because he fell in love, and he was like a total badass at his job. Yeah. So like years later down months, or was it years later down the road? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was years.
His wife dies. Yeah. Like a terminal illness. They don't really go into the specifics of it.
Probably cancer.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah.
She was in a hospital bed. We hear the flatline. We just assume that it was bad, right?
Yeah.
And kind of as a postmortem, like, I love you so much. Like, I'm gonna give you this adorable little basset hound.
Yeah.
And it's like, and this is within the first 10 minutes of the movie. That's like the best part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then again, 5 minutes later, as soon as he gets the dog, he doesn't even own it for like a solid week or anything.
Yeah, it's like a very short period.
The day after, he gets a run-in from like the Russian mob, who kills and they end up killing his puppy right in front of him and stealing like his most beloved car.
Theon Greyjoy kills his
exactly. For like Game of Thrones fans, if you hated Theon, you're gonna hate him even more.
Yeah, it just like adds to his legacy of being
he's just that terrible, the worst character ever. You want to see him die.
Oh no, exactly. And that whole like having his wife die, and then days later having his post-mortem puppy die. Like, right in front of his eyes.
Just, like, straight up murder to the puppy.
Yeah, just freaking, like, oh, no, like, it was brutal, because you hear the pup die, and you're just like, oh my god. And this is within the first 20 minutes, and then from that point, you're good to go. You're going like, yo, these people need to die. That is enough motivation for John to go take these people out. Because, like, the crazy part is that people don't realize that he's in the grieving, like, he's in, like, the 7 stages of grief right now. And, like, right now it's just straight up anger. Yeah. And he just goes on a murder spree.
Yeah.
So, again, it's one of those things where it's such a simple, like, they use death as such a simple, like, plot motivation.
Yeah.
And it just carries, and that just carries the movie. And you want to see him succeed. Because we've all grieved to some degree.
Yeah.
And we all understand that, like, if shit hits the fan...
At that particular moment, like, he encapsulates that idea.
No, exactly. Yeah. And it's such a simple plot, such a simple motivation, and it just made the movie just so much more exciting.
It just works so well. And one of the things that I liked about... So I don't like that they killed the dog. But one of the things that I like about having them kill the dog and steal the car, they didn't make an obvious thing. It's like, I quit, and then, like, my wife got killed by an errant bullet or some, like, tropish bullshit like that. Or it was like, no, the wife dies already, and then he's grieving over her, and then this beautiful gift that she gives her, somebody takes that away, and he's like, I'm gonna kill every last one of you. You know?
Yeah.
Right? It's not like The Crow, where it's a similar vein, but they both die, and he's like, I loved her so much, and I couldn't live. And so Crow, like, carries, and he comes back, and he's immortal, and he goes and he kills. Straight revenge. This is like a better example because, like you said, he's grieving, and he's starting to, the dog probably would help him get through that grief better, and they just take it away from him.
They took away his ability to, like, move on.
Yeah, and he's like, okay.
He's like, fine, I'm not going to move on then.
I'm just going to move on a different way with a lot of blood.
And to kind of add on that, like, it's so... Then all of a sudden, like, all the other characters that he runs into, they get it. Because there comes a point where the guy that plays the Ungraded's dad, like the head Russian mob boss,
he's like, why would you do this?
He's
You're
like,
so dumb.
It's like you like days after the funeral, you go to his house, you steal his car, and you kill his fucking dog.
Yeah.
And you're just like, no, John gets to do this. He gets a free pass at just wiping us out. You've screwed us over. Yeah. And I think that's like one of the finer points of the movie where it's like everybody's going. It doesn't make, like, why is John going, and then they find the reasons, like, oh, that's messed up.
Yeah.
And then everything's just all of a sudden justified.
They're like, so, what's going on? And he tells them, he's like, oh, okay, all right.
Oh.
Now that you mention that, it's true, like, the whole movie, you're watching it, and you're just sort of rooting for him in his vengeance, and literally everyone except for the guy who started the chain of events is totally on board with you. Like, or with the premise. Like, it's very linear in sort of its narrative. Like, the MacGuffin is the car.
Simple. It's simple, and this is probably, I mean, maybe, and maybe it'll tick off some fans of The Matrix, but, like, he's born to play that role, man. It's like the honest trail for it is like, oh, we had Keanu Reeves spent his whole career trying to grow out a Bill and Ted role. It's like, nope. Gets the footage of John Wick. There we go. Right? So, it's just such a simple premise, but it just works so well. And it just, boom, here you go. Straight line.
Right.
And it's just great.
And without, going too far down the road with this, I think John Wick Chapter 2 kind of carries on that story in another interesting way.
Yeah, and it doesn't do it in like a ham-fisted way either. It's also a good motivation. It's it's in the same vein. So you're like, oh, okay. You're like, because when the movies first got, I'm like, how did they do that? I'm like, he got his vengeance. He's like, what's going to be his motivation? It's probably going to be something dumb. And then they do it, and you're like, yeah, right. I'm on board again.
And I think
for more death.
With like John Wick 2, it's like you got to realize that it pretty much picks up where the first movie left off.
Yeah,
like it's not like a few days, and he's still in that awkward grieving stage.
Yeah,
and it's still in the John Wick 2 just uses that same motivation, and then adds a couple plot devices and all that. But it still works.
Yeah,
it's still an engaging movie, and they use to kind of stick to what we were talking about today, like using death as a theme.
Yeah.
It handles that theme very well.
Yeah, agreed wholeheartedly.
Yep.
Yeah. Here.
Good. So with that said, I think that covers it off, hey Chris?
I think so too. So, agree, disagree? What do you think of John Wick and John Wick 2? We think it's fantastic. What do you guys think? Any more examples? Maybe we didn't cover some more that you have. Feel free to comment below, like or share the video, or even better, subscribe to the channel.
Until next time, I'm Tim.
And I'm Chris.
And this is Crosstalk.